His metal helmet? What? The fact that he doesn't know how to run a country successfully? What? The fact that he tried to steal my girl 3 times and failed? What? The fact that he owes Luke Cage $200? What? The fact that he got his nuts handed to him by Squirrel Girl? What? The fact that he let Big Bird break his hands? What? The fact that he gets his by me?
They took your family into riches. Then they took your health and your pride. Finally, they left you to die. What will you do, Exile?
When all day crazy Catholic Church, my official title is father.
Well, that's not fair. I had to get my wife pregnant to get that title.
Very funny.
What's nothing funny about it? Have you seen my wife? You're no fucking father, Casey.
I am a father, and according to the Archdiocese of the Tri-County area, you're my father.
You're not my fucking father.
You're fucking father.
Since you're 4 feet tall, Finny, I never call you fucking father.
Am I really gonna have to fuck your mother?
You goddamn, I already fucked.
GG. See how marriage is still cold. Still design.
The Joe Rogan experience.
And I still feel the need to play the lesser evil game, even when they're right. They're still wrong, because when I weigh out, the choices I have, even though you're right on this issue, I'm right about my choice ultimately because more things went the way I wanted them to than the way I did. It takes a lot of ego strength to admit where you're wrong, and I just don't think a lot of people have that. And there is a tribalism with everything, whether it's workout trends, diets, for God's sake. I mean, we've seen this kind of dogma in health and wellness for years. It's no fun to say you were wrong, and in some cases it can have professional repercussions for people.
Sure. Did you experience any professional repercussions where you're pushing back against this healthy at any size stuff? Because that's
How much time do you have on that one?
well. Let's go into it because that to me was so fascinating.
Get
That
comfortable.
the concept of fat shaming, which look, I don't think you should hurt anybody's feelings, but I think at a certain point in time, sometimes hurting someone's feelings causes actions, and hurting someone's feelings with the truth. And you can give the truth to someone lovingly. You know, you can say, look, I care about you. This is why I want to tell you you're a fat fuck. You really are. You're disgusting and you need to lose weight and you're fully addicted to food and you don't understand what it's doing to your body and you're being lied to by all these other people, like these fat doctors. Like there's some lady in the UK who calls herself the fat doctor. I'm like,
Great.
lady, you're just overwhelmed with inflammation. I could just see it looking at you. This is crazy that you're giving this advice out when you can't walk up a hill. There's no way. Like you're so unhealthy.
Yeah.
And this idea that shaming people is worse than telling them the truth that's going to make them feel bad, maybe temporarily, but you could do it with kindness. And then that person can make choices that will be, and then you encourage them, like, I'm so glad you changed your diet. I'm so glad you cut out this and cut out that, and now you're doing well. And you've decided to walk 10,000 steps a day, and you've decided to start exercising a little bit, you know?
You've given me a lot to tackle here. So let's start with
Professionals.
the psyop component of healthy at any size. This is a big food narrative. This has been proven. Even the friggin'
It's not even big food narrative.
okay, so big food, put simply, hired a bunch of registered dietitians to co-opt this concept of intuitive eating. I'm dead ass serious.
Yeah.
With hashtags like derail the shame, and they paid them, and they put out all of these posts and went to all of these conventions and promoted the narrative that you can be healthy at any size. And it's just a flat out lie. It is a flat earther conversation. It is pseudoscience at its best. There's no truth behind that. There's a robust amount of data that show us being obese is associated with like 170 comorbidities. This is a non-factor. It's been debunked. We know this for a fact. So when that happens, what they're doing is essentially placating someone who already feels. Now I can attack what's going on, or address rather what's going on with an individual who is that size, and it is largely psychological. Once you are past the point of dad bod, you know what I mean? Like, I worked 3 jobs, life beat me down, it's a food desert, and I'm 40 pounds overweight, and I've let myself go. This is a different animal. When you're dealing with somebody who is 50 plus pounds overweight, there is a psychological component. So the first thing we need to do is make them aware that there is a problem, without question. But you can do it without shame, giving them facts of, listen, this is unhealthy. And because you are such a valuable individual, I want you to understand this, because only from a place of feeling truly worthy are you able to facilitate a change. You don't work out because you hate your body. You work out because you love it. So it doesn't need to be a shaming. There's no shame there, to be honest, Joe. I know that people claim there is, because you pointed out this vulnerability or this flaw in the person, but we all have flaws and vulnerabilities. People who are overweight simply wear them. So it's easier to judge, right?
Yeah.
So by educating them first, and then without question, I like to give people, or when I was able to do the work hands-on, that rock bottom moment, because they are overweight because it is providing them with something extraordinarily significant. Now, I can give you examples should you need them, but I promise you that at one time or another, people turn to addictions, in this case food, because it means their psychological survival. So put simply, the most obvious example would be a person who was incested, molested, raped, puts on weight, desexualized. That's just one example of many, but it's easy to illustrate the point. So whatever this thing is providing them is the part that's so hard to let go of.
Yeah.
Because unconsciously it's terrifying. And you gotta first show them this is why we need to change, and then you got to give them that path towards change, and you got to make it harder. You got to make them feel the pain. It could be physically, it could be psychologically, but it doesn't have to be shameful. The way they've been living, so that the work and the sacrifice associated with change is less painful than continuing the negative and destructive habits. You don't have to shame them. I know what the message seems like it is, but it really isn't.
Well, the whole term fat shaming is pretty recent, right?
Yes, very. Let's get right back to what I was just. You asked me what I lost. So,
intuitive eating is a fascinating
fuck
phrase.
Fuck
And
yes.
the idea that this is by the same people that used to be in charge of tobacco.
Yep.
This is what's really crazy. These are the R.J. Reynolds and these tobacco companies bought all these fast food, processed food companies, and they use the same tactics that they used with that to push terrible foods on people.
well, they literally have a team of multidisciplinary scientists that work around the clock to figure out how to get people to not eat just one, and then put it in a commercial, like literally in broad daylight.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing to people.
Bet you can't eat just
Yes,
one. Yeah.
you know, but what they're doing is they are exploiting somebody's psychology and they're hijacking their biology with this food without question. And this is why you have seen rates of obesity skyrocket from the 70s, when it was like 5% of the adult population was overweight or obese, to 74%. I mean, like, we're all, is it quantum leap in genetics? That's a big pharma psyop of like, no, this is all genetic. You're genetically obese. Well, what happened? I've never seen such a quantum leap in genetics. How come we were genetically obese in the 70s? Like, what was that tipping point, if you will, that created the cascade of obesity over the last 5 decades? Of course, it's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's ingredients in food. It's really simple.
And that, and also how they engineer the environment, and you're surrounded by it. You can't escape it. Remember the days when you weren't allowed to have food at a bookstore? And now every friggin' bookstore has a cafe.
Starbucks.
Yeah, with a 600 calorie drink. You are surrounded. There's nowhere you can go right now where food is not omnipresent, in particular, this crappy food. And they generally do it through government contracts and subsidies. So it's at your schools, your hospitals, like anywhere you go, you will find this garbage food. So even if you have that moment of willpower, which is arguably this fleeting moment of bravado, if you're constantly surrounded by it, you will give in. Managing your environment is a large part of helping someone be successful. It's a Band-Aid, right? If you're dealing with sexual abuse, for example, but controlling the environment is definitely a component in helping them. You can't control the environment.
Right.
You can't control the narrative. You can't control what's in the food. And it's all by design. It's not just the crap in the food. It's how they control the narrative around it and how they engineer the environment and how they systematically shut down the people that point it out as fat shamers, for example, or racists.
Yeah.
It's another big one.
Yeah, it's a big one. Or transphobes, or fill in the blank. But it's fascinating to me that hospitals fall into this. A friend of mine was visiting his friend who has prostate cancer, and this guy is in the hospital being treated for cancer, and then he went to look at what they're feeding him in the hospital, and they were feeding him applesauce, which is just loaded with high fructose corn syrup, apple juice or orange juice, which is not even juice, it's concentrate, it's all bullshit.
Yep.
And then some kind of a fucking sandwich, which is made out of this processed wheat bread.
Yeah,
It's
evil. It probably has in
garbage.
that meal alone 100 plus chemicals. I think I'm being conservative.
Yeah.
At
At a hospital.
It has to do with government contracts.
Yeah, but it's so crazy that hospitals, their diets in hospitals are co-opted.
I can't even. My kids, who I know will be watching this, so I love you guys. It's okay, but they stopped packing their lunches, and I was like, guys, why are we not packing our lunches anymore? And I would watch all the crap that I would buy go bad in the pantry. And my son ratted my daughter. He's like, she's eating breakfast at school. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, sugar cereal, who's having that at school? I was like, what? What are you talking about? Even my kids who know better, it's.
But isn't that a rebellion against mom, though? Which kids definitely do. Like, my youngest daughter, she jokes around about, she's like, ooh, seed oils. I love seed oils. She'll have salad dressing with seed oil, and she, like, mocks me. I'm like, okay, you eat whatever you want, but just know what it is.
I honestly think if the kids know what it is, and I try to give them enough freedom now at these ages, 13 and 15, to make some of their own decisions. So not everything is a pushback, but I truly think there is an addictive component.
Oh, for sure.
And she just, it's like, I'm so good at home. I don't mean to associate that, you're not good, but I eat well at home, let's put it that way. And, just at school. I'm just going to do this at school. And the problem, obviously, is when she goes off to college, I won't be able to control the environment at home. And okay, hold on. There's forgive me, there's a 20-year-old influencer named Bad Baby, I think. Joe, she saw this girl.
That's the lady from Dr. Phil.
Yes.
Catch Me Outside.
Catch Me Outside. So she saw this girl, I think when she was 9, and has followed Bad Baby. Bad Baby now has cancer.
What?
I believe so. And
Real?
according
Isn't she
to my
20?
daughter, exactly the point, though. That's exactly the point. And so now I can say to my kids, this isn't just mom's generation, which, how come there's something else to look at? My mom is 76. None of the public figures in her generation got cancer. You didn't see Susan Sarandon or Sigourney Weaver or Meryl Streep. None of them got cancer. But in my generation, it's like Maria Menounos, Christina Applegate, something's going on with Angelina Jolie, Kate Middleton. In my generation, the canary is dead in the coal mine. It's not even a question of the negative impact. If we're not looking at statistics, if we're just looking from an observational perspective, it's in the news every single day. Someone's dealing with cancer. Look at mom. Now you're seeing 20-year-olds deal with this. And I was able to point to that to my daughter and say, this is the shit that I am talking about. She's 5 years older than you.
What does that lady have? Does it say?
Yeah, she's claimed that she's got a form of leukemia, I believe. But people,
They debate, they doubt her?
Yeah, for sure, they doubt her. I don't know.
She's a little bit kooky, right?
Sure.
You still can't point to the fact. Even if it's not Bad Baby, who may be lying, I'm not sure.
How are you using that name, Bad Baby?
Is it Bad Baby? I said Bad Bunny the other day, and my kids are like, no, that's the rapper.
She says she insisted she'd been cleared for surgery. She has no regrets about her cosmetic tweaks. What does a cosmetic tweak have to do with leukemia?
Don't know.
I think people are.
They're not going to perform plastic surgery on a cancer patient. What? She's getting plastic surgery? What's this article about?
Leukemia piece, because that's the part I know about.
She breaks silence on claims she lied about having cancer after being slammed for vaping.
Oh God, did she lie about it?
I was just showing you that.
Go back up.
Because I thought she had a wig.
Go back up.
She lost her hair.
21 says currently battling chronic, how do you say that? Myeloid leukemia.
Yeah.
Criticized for getting cosmetic surgery while battling disease, which is pretty crazy. Is that really?
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
Yes. Good to see you.
You too.
We were just talking about boomers, about parents that they don't want to believe anything other than what they're getting from the news.
It's been a challenge. My dad is an absolute lost cause. My mom is now open to the conversation, and she'll send me a bunch of different articles, and then she'll allow me to disseminate from my perspective. But it's been a rough ride.
Yeah, I've got them on peptides now, which is nice.
Same.
And I've got my stepdad on testosterone replacement, which is nice, and he's seeing benefits of those things. So it's like they're slowly starting to incorporate some of these things, but their whole life they've been told that the doctor knows everything and that the news is always correct and anything contrary to the news is bullshit.
But arguably, when our parents were our age, it was reliable.
I don't think so.
No,
I think it's always been compromised. I just think there was no alternatives.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's what I think.
My mom is a psychoanalyst, PhD. This is a very educated, thoughtful woman. And
sometimes that's the worst.
No, I would argue against in this case. I do appreciate people who see flaws in psychoanalysis, but I've learned a huge amount from my mom in this area. And she also, she majored in journalism before changing careers to psychoanalysis. And so for her to even wrap her head around the fact that journalism can be compromised is almost inconceivable.
Right. I didn't mean psychoanalysis is bad. What I meant is that a lot of times educated people defer to other educated people. Like they're an expert in their field, so they assume that all the other experts in their field are also correct. And any heretic is just a fool.
I would happen to agree with that point. Yeah. That's why we were talking about Fauci on the way in, and both of my parents could arguably canonize the guy, or now I think I've broken through with my mom, but it has taken me since your episode with Brett Weinstein in March of 2020. I've been working on it. We're getting there, though. We're there. It's been 5 years.
Isn't that crazy? That was 5 years ago.
It was like yesterday. I'll never forget it.
5 years ago. And I remember when that episode came out, people were freaking out. Like, what are you doing? What is Brett doing? This is bullshit. You're going to get us all killed.
It made perfect sense to me.
Well, he was right, clearly. And yet still, no apologies, no corrections, except the government website. The COVID-19 website is now up, and this has to be because of Bobby Kennedy.
Hey, I mean, the New York Times was like, looks like this came from a lab. It's like, you really?
Well, the best part about it was that, like, we were misled. Yeah, you were misled by you fuckers.
I know.
You did it. You did it.
It's disgusting, and there are zero apologies.
No.
Zero course corrections. And they unveil this information as though they are the purveyors of truth. Guys, we got a headline.
You're a little late. You're a half a decade late.
That's right.
You know what's really interesting? We've been talking about this a lot lately, that imagine if the roles reversed and if podcasters were the ones yelling at everybody to go out and take these experimental shots, and then they were experiencing all these complications and all these side effects. Mainstream news would be chastising us. Like, how dare you give people the advice to go out and do that? You're responsible for these people having all these side effects and all these unnecessary deaths and all these people that would have had no problem with COVID. You encouraged them to take this vaccine, and they had strokes, and they had this, and they had that. They'd be calling for us to get shut down.
I actually did that. I did not know any better, and I was pitched a vaccine scientist, and I thought, like, oh, this is great. Yeah, come on the show. I didn't know the vaccine was gene therapy. I had no idea. So I knew it came from a lab. That made perfect sense to me, and I was like, oh, well, this is very clear. It's not, from a wet market. But someone reached out to a producer of mine and said, we've got this person who was a scientist who worked on the vaccine that wants to educate people. And I thought I was doing this major public service. I have had to apologize for that podcast, and I've left it up.
What was the scientist?
I cannot remember her name. She was actually young. And the reason I remember that she was in her 30s is because she told me, oh, this tech has been around for 30 years. And I thought, but you're like 35. No, we've been evolving this technology for 30 years, and you see all of these trials for safety. It's just bureaucracy. I didn't understand what it meant to push something through that emergency use loophole at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't understand the difference of, this is a dead pathogen and this is a live pathogen, and we're worried about adjuvants, but this is gene therapy. I didn't even begin to comprehend what that was, what it meant, or the fact that we would fuck around with something that was experimental. And the scariest part is I had been talking with a woman named Brianne Dresden, who was injured during the AstraZeneca COVID-19 trials. And the NIH was studying all of the people that had been injured during the vaccine trials as they rolled out the vaccine with no concerns, and lied about every component, from it stays in the shoulder, it's out of the body in 24 hours, until you find out, no, it's coated in lipid nanoparticles and it can cross the blood-brain barrier. Oops.
Now they're finding out that people can still produce spike protein because the injection's for over 700 days.
And you can shed, supposedly.
You give it to your partner.
It's insanity.
Crazy.
And now I'm certainly not an expert in mRNA tech, but now we're fast-tracking other vaccines that utilize this same technology. And I know, for one, I don't think I'll take an mRNA vaccine ever. It scares the crap out of me.
Well, you've heard Brett Weinstein talk about the flaws and just the technology itself, and that the fact that when it gets into your body, if it gets especially, the thing is, nobody aspirated, right? They didn't inject people and pull back to make sure they're not on a blood vessel. They just plunged it, including when they did it live with Biden on television.
Yes.
I don't think that was. I said to this day, people are like, yo, what, you conspiracy theorist? Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, I think it's a conspiracy. I don't think they would take a chance in injecting a fucking 80-year-old man when you know that you have to, stay there at the clinic for 20 minutes in case you drop dead. Yeah.
My wife's friend, her friend's son actually had the COVID vaccine and the flu vaccine on the same day.
Oy.
He did supposedly stay for 15 minutes, got in the car, must have passed out or had a seizure, hit a tree and died.
Jesus
had a crazy reaction to it. I know I'm not trying to promote this anti-vax position, but
that's not a vaccine.
Exactly.
Calling it a vaccine is fucking crazy.
That's exactly it.
It was a totally experimental gene therapy, and what Brett was saying about it is if you don't aspirate, you're shooting it right into a blood vessel. If you're shooting it right into a blood vessel, it could go to all sorts of areas of the body where the body's going to attack it like it's a disease, particularly the heart. And it's like, this is why you get myocarditis, because the heart doesn't heal, which is why you don't get heart cancer. Your heart just scars over. So people have these inflamed, enlarged hearts and then diminished cardiovascular function. And he was talking about this way earlier than anybody else. Mm-hmm. And they were blood on his hands, is killing grandmas. And the vaccine saved millions of lives. People say that all the time. They've saved millions of lives. Like, how? If people still got COVID, not only that, they got more COVID than people that didn't get vaccinated.
I am still having this exact debate, actually, with my mom, who's like, but honey, it saved millions. And you know what's crazy? Have you actually tried to Google that information? Because you could make a case for that based on what will come up on Google. And she's like, but look, right here, it says it saved millions of lives.
But it's only based on the idea that those people would have died if they didn't have COVID.
Right.
And the problem is you're going to get COVID anyway. So that data is bullshit. Not only that, even when people got COVID, 99.07 of those fuckers lived.
I just pulled that up because I was trying to illustrate that point. I was like, do you realize that I think the percentage of mortality with this is like 1%? And when you look at it, it's like
considerably less.
0.03 all the way up till you hit about 80 years old.
Right.
and then it's like, well, 1% or so, 1.5 maybe in 80-year-olds or morbidly obese or severely autoimmune, immunocompromised.
When you have 330 million people in this country, and then you look at that 0.3%, that starts looking like a lot of people. But those are just people that are on death's door. That's the reality. Metabolically unhealthy, obese, diabetes, all sorts of problems, cancer, leukemia, on chemotherapy. Those are the people that died.
I remember when Bill Maher was talking about how it was people who